Nestled at the foot of these sheer cliffs is a wild and overgrown terrain. Shards of light, the only solace in a dark, dank world. Rooted here lives a giant, a 600-year-old Outeniqua Yellowwood. Towering 115 feet above the forest floor, it is the tallest native tree in South Africa. From its topmost branches to the ground below, the giant provides shelter and food to those that hide among its branches. For centuries, the Titan has seen life come and go. What secrets does it hold in its boughs? It is the keeper of tales in this ancient realm. This is the Soutpansberg, the rugged backbone to the Limpopo province in the northernmost corner of South Africa. The giant Yellowwood rules over this jungle. It's regent of the mountains. March marks the end of summer in the Soutpansberg. At first glance, this Eden seems deserted. But it's easy for life here to hide in the overgrown thicket. The echoing chatter of birds provides the only solace that breaks the haunting silence. A booming call joins the ceaseless chorus of birdsong. The canopy is home to South Africa's only exclusively forest-dwelling primate, the Samango monkey. Notoriously skittish, it's a rare treat to catch a glimpse of this shy forest resident. It has a large family, 38 members. Within this troop is a single breeding male who presides over his harem of females and their offspring. The Samangos are drawn to what is referred to as the Yellowwood's fruit. But fruits come from flowers, and there are none of those here. Outeniqua Yellowwoods belong to an ancient family of trees called conifers, which evolved long before flowering plants appeared on the planet. Instead, they produce male and female cones, found on separate trees. Only females produce this so-called fruit. This giant is, in fact, queen of the forest. 1 year since her cones were pollinated, clusters of succulent yellow fruit now hang from her branches. Less than an inch in diameter, they have quite a resinous flavor. Still, birds and other animals enjoy their taste and flock to the Yellowwood's branches. The monkey's discarded seeds and chewed fruit chunks fall to the forest floor. Crested guinea fowl greedily peck at the scraps. During fruiting season, the yellowwood, helped by the monkeys, serves a banquet of discarded fruit to the flock. In fact, monkeys and guinea fowl often forage together. The birds scavenging on the primates' rejected leftovers. There's another benefit to this odd coupling. More eyes to look out for predators, both on the ground and up above. In these warm summer months, the Samangos welcome new members into their troop. A female usually only gives birth to one infant a year, not taking her eyes off it for the first month of its life. The youngster desperately clings to his mother as she clambers through the forest in search of food. His mother relies on the nutrients from the yellowwood's fruit to produce her milk, a supply she will need to maintain as she nurses him over the next 2 years. But monkeys and guinea fowl aren't the only ones to reap the queen's rewards. From her branches, a hollow call echoes through the forest. Purple-crested turacos eat almost exclusively fruit and frequently visit the giant in fruiting season. Their glossy, colorful plumage is a sight to behold, with beautiful crimson flight feathers. But they're not the greatest of flyers. Instead, they nimbly run on branches in the canopy, bounding and gliding from limb to limb. Turacos and other fruit-eating birds disperse the giant's seeds all over the forest. Darkness descends over the mountain. Wandering stars ignite the evening sky. For 6 centuries, this titan amongst trees has stood witness to this cosmic wonder. Creatures of the night stir. Amongst them, a woodland dormouse is out on the prowl. Usually the bushy-tailed scavenger forages in the treetops. But tonight, it's rummaging between the fallen yellowwood fruit for a tasty tidbit, all the while cautiously listening for danger. It finds its prize, a discarded yellowwood seed. The mouse gnaws at the seed, ruining any chance of it taking root. As life in the forest wakes, the crested guinea fowls stir in the treetops all around the yellowwood. These peculiar birds roost in the forest canopy, where they are beyond the reach of danger. It's May. Autumn mornings are chilly up here amongst the leaves, and the flock abandons its roost to go forage beneath the yellowwood. The family is a social bunch, constantly communicating to stay in range of each other. A male dominates this community, a role he claimed and maintains by being the fittest cock with the most endurance. He keeps a blood-red eye on his flock of 30 from a perch. When it comes to searching for food, one has to admire their persistence. They spend most of the day scrounging through leaf litter to unearth seeds. Digging for roots and bulbs, and scratching and scraping to uncover a juicy morsel, like a spider or a millipede. In autumn, the flock has to work a little harder for their food. The yellowwood summer fruit is a distant memory. But the forest is full of hidden treasures. You just need to know where to look. A piercing shriek abruptly ends the peace and quiet of the morning treasure hunt. A male hyrax, also known as a dussie, is responsible for this shrill cry. His territorial calls defend the yellowwood year-round. But fall being mating season, they're much more frequent now. He's guarding his den, a collection of large boulders in the shade of the giant. Hidden among them is his harem. He reigns over a colony of 17 females and their offspring. A rival male threatens him with quick posturing. But it doesn't take much to intimidate this interloper. He's no match for this seasoned champion. With dorsal hairs standing on end, a second challenger confronts the ruler of this rock. But he doesn't have what it takes either. Another standoff. And this time, his opponent tries to intimidate him by grinding his molars. That shook him up a bit. Better for the dominant male to stand down than lose his den. Don't be deceived by its name. The rock hyrax is a master tree climber, and it often takes to the trees to forage. As the hyrax moves along the branches, it relies on the thick, rubbery soles on its feet to get a good grip. The inner toe on each hind foot serves as a long grooming claw. The Dassie uses this, along with 4 comb-like incisors, to scratch almost any part of its body. Although the Dassie may look like a rodent, its closest living relative could not seem more different. The African elephant, their close relationship determined by the similar structure of their feet and teeth. This colony has lived in the rocky crevices close to the Yellowwood for generations, perhaps even witnessing the first growth of its seed. One den in South Africa was found to have urine layers dating back 55,000 years. This ancient forest can be a claustrophobic world. Even the spans between the trees are occupied. All around the Yellowwood, veils of silk drape between branches, gleaming in the sunlight. A kite spider, dangerously beautiful with crab-like spines, meticulously cleans its web. But the queen cradles an even greater jewel in her upper reaches. Here, one of Africa's most striking orb weavers, the Darwin's bark spider, has spun her web. With the toughest silk ever seen, 10 times stronger than Kevlar, these spiders spin some of the largest webs found in nature. Covering more than 30 square feet. The key to this extraordinary strength is the silk's elasticity, twice as resilient as other orb spinners' webs. Insects stand little chance of escaping such a masterpiece. When a second victim finds its way into her web, she gently plucks the thread to make sure there is something there. She injects digestive fluids into her prey's body, dissolving it from the inside. And bit by bit, from head to toe, she drains her quarry, every last drop. All this happens on a web 100 feet off the ground, within the giant's embrace. With winter around the corner, the giant is no longer the generous provider she once was. For now, her branches hold neither cones nor fruit. The Samango monkeys have to look for food elsewhere, their movement confined to a 115-acre stretch of forest around the Yellowwood. Luckily, there's plenty to choose from in the jungle. They shove sugar-rich fruit into their cheek pouches to consume at a later stage in a less exposed part of the forest. Leaves also make it onto the menu. But a female hits the jackpot. A praying mantis. A juicy delicacy. Even better than the mantis are caterpillars. The hairy ones burn and need to be handled with care. She rubs the insect on a branch to get rid of the stinging hairs. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Fruit digests in the monkey's stomach, while leaves ferment in a pocket attached to its colon. Related females form the social core of the troop, passing their knowledge of the best fruiting trees onto their young. For these monkeys, there's little need to leave this small patch of lush green paradise. And they will brutally defend their fruiting trees against rival troops. With the onset of winter, the Samangos will have to be even more vigilant, as food will become scant in the months ahead. The Soutpansberg lies at the meeting point of several biomes, as thick indigenous forests merge with grassland from the south and dry savanna from the north. In June, a hodgepodge of spicy, sweet fragrances hangs thick in the cold winter air, as blooming aloes and shrubs transform the rocky grassland just outside the forest. Home to 2/3 of the country's birds and mammals, the area encompassing the Soutpansberg Mountains holds more life than anywhere else in South Africa. This is her domain. She rules this kingdom. But the queen does not stand alone. She has a king. Behind the giant is another Yellowwood, her male counterpart. Despite being much smaller than his female companion, he is still a magnificent tree. His branches bear light green male cones. These slender, catkin-like cones have been developing for the last 18 months. But they still aren't ready to release their pollen. This morning is bitterly cold inside the forest. The temperature hovering just below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The boulders underneath the Yellowwood bake in patches of shifting sunlight. It's the perfect spot for a dussie to bask in the heat. And stretching out on a high sunny branch is never too much trouble. Because of its low metabolism, it's difficult for a hyrax to control its body temperature. So lying in the sun helps to thaw cold, stiff limbs. On chilly mornings like these, it increases its heartbeat to 160 beats per minute to warm up. When the hyrax gets too hot, panting helps it cool down through the evaporation of saliva. It can breathe up to 200 breaths per minute. The Dassie has evolved into a somewhat lazy creature. It spends 95% of its day sunbathing or resting. An eternity for a herbivore. The Samango monkeys also seek out the sun to bask in its warmth. It makes for lazy downtime. Living in a forest, one's likely to collect a few ticks and fleas. It's a real nuisance when all one wants to do is bake in the sun. Sometimes a monkey just needs more hands. Fortunately, a troop mate makes up for this shortcoming. In this Samango troop, everyone is regarded as a friend, and grooming reaffirms those friendships. The alpha male enjoys more grooming attention from his harem of females than any other troop member, a sign of their devotion. Social grooming ensures peace within the troop, and aggression is rare. It's the good life. The troop has nothing to worry about. Little do these sunbathers realize that two of their biggest enemies have moved back into the neighborhood. A pair of crowned eagles has been using this nest for many years, each year adding more material to it, resulting in the monstrous structure it is today. But it's not their only nest. The queen cradles a second, which the pair used last season to raise a single chick. This year they've chosen instead to nest in a white stinkwood tree on the edge of the forest. The raptors aren't afraid to make their presence known, calling to each other at the nest. And soon, both the monkeys and the dassies are aware of the threat in the vicinity. Crowned eagles are the most powerful eagles in Africa, killing animals up to 5 times their own weight, crushing skulls and breaking spines with long talons. Their wingspan stretches almost 6 feet across, a formidable predator for any small furry animal. With spring around the corner, they've laid one egg. The female stays behind on the nest to incubate it, while the male goes off to hunt for her. A Samango's alarm call scatters the monkeys and hyraxes, all running for cover. In the confusion, someone is missing. Back on the nest, the female waits anxiously for her partner to return. Success! She greedily pecks at his gift, a young hyrax. Spring offers little relief from the dry September heat. The rain will only arrive at the end of the season. The giant is susceptible to this drought. It needs a good deal of water. Instead of only shallow roots penetrating the soil to capture rainwater, it sends a taproot deep into the earth. This longer taproot has its own extensive root system to seek out different sources of moisture. Less than half a mile away, up on the plateau, the mountain blesses the forest with the bounty of runoff from higher altitudes. Like veins, these small rivers carry the thicket's lifeblood through the Yellowwood's forest. On and on it flows, the current bringing life to every rift and crevice. In the blinding light of the September afternoon, the stream is like a semi-molten mirror. It quenches the thirst of many of the Soutpansberg's plants and animals. Where pools form, whirligig beetles swim on the water's surface. They scavenge for trapped or floating insects, performing what appears to be an elaborate aquatic ballet. A common river frog watches for prey on the bank. With powerful hind legs and a fair amount of webbing between the toes, it's perfectly adapted to hunt in this waterlogged environment. Its distinct call, a croak and rattle, announces its presence to rivals. This is my stalking ground. A damselfly also hunts along this stream. It's drawn by midges, mayflies and mosquitoes that frequent these waters. All this aerial master has to do is pluck them from the air. Another damselfly uses his tail to keep a firm grip on the female he's just mated with, preventing other suitors from removing his sperm to insert their own. Only when she's laid her eggs is his posterity ensured. She deposits them underwater in slits she cuts in the stems of water plants. Once done, she must dry off before she can continue on her journey. The stream flows like time, always onward. The giant draws strength from the nutrient-rich waters. The wet, fertile soil has made this Yellowwood the awe-inspiring colossus it is today. But the Queen's reign is threatened. A usurper is tightening its grip around her throne. an imposter, slowly depriving her of nourishment. For years, this strangler fig has been making its way up her trunk with a network of aerial roots. The fig puts out a lush canopy of leaves that rob the queen of her sunlight. Each day it tightens its grip, slowly squeezing the life from its unwilling host. It is a fatal embrace, one that will eventually topple the giant. Once again, change comes over the Soutpansberg. Clouds gather on the horizon. A storm is brewing. Electricity is in the air. The forest seems uneasy. With the arrival of rain, spring ends. The November downpour restores the landscape to its true splendor, enveloping the Yellowwood in a white haze. The Samangos despise wet days like this, and they choose not to forage too far from the giant. She's their sanctuary. Even though they're drenched, they carry on with their daily business. The guinea fowl don't seem troubled by the rain. A forest rain frog, endemic to this area, stumbles onto their feeding ground. Many a guinea fowl have fought over such a delicacy. But they somehow fail to notice the lumbering amphibian, and he makes a quick getaway. It's rare for the hyraxes to forage in the middle of the day when temperatures are highest. They are making the best of the gloomy weather. They take to the trees to relish the burst of fresh new foliage. Dassies can eat almost any vegetation. Even the forest's most hardy morsels are no match for the symbiotic bacteria that fill their three-chambered stomachs, allowing them to break down an impressive variety of plants. Agile climbers, these acrobats will balance on the thinnest branches to get to the juiciest leaves. Which leads to some precarious situations. December is the wet season in the Soutpansberg. It's a sultry and humid place. Mist dancing between peaks and crags. These mountains have one of the highest rainfalls recorded in South Africa, with an average of almost 75 inches of rain per year. The forests in the valleys of the mountain thrive on all this moisture in the air. On the yellowwood's branches, lichens and epiphytes soak up water from the fog. Although it's not raining, the mist produces an incessant drip inside the forest. Everything is soaked through. As the sun makes an appearance, light sparkles through droplets, caught by the yellowwood's epiphytes. Orchids, ferns, and succulents, like the lemon bean bush, all grow amongst the giant's leaves. But most noticeable between the yellowwood's branches are usni, also known as old man's beard. This lichen doesn't damage the tree, but grows symbiotically with its host plant. The beard-like growth is actually two organisms living together, an algae and a fungus. Sensitive to pollution, the grey-green tassels thrive on the clean air in the Soutpansberg. Close to the yellowwood, a delicate rasping call disrupts the calm of the forest. It's a female paradise flycatcher, and she's very agitated. Her mate looks on from another branch. Unlike her, he has long, beautiful tail feathers. African paradise flycatchers are usually noisy birds. But today the couple seems particularly perturbed. And here is why. This is not a branch. It's an African vine snake. Its ability to freeze, imitating a twig, makes it hard to spot. But the flycatchers don't miss a thing. Their nest must be close by. The tiny snake is extremely venomous and is potentially fatal to humans. No anti-venom exists. A small bird, like the flycatcher, stands no chance. As the days grow even warmer, summer begins to transform the yellowwood. In January, the giant sprouts a flourish of new leaves. The tender, light green shoots stand out boldly against her usual dark foliage. But this is just the beginning. On the male yellowwood, 2 years since they first emerged, the cones have turned brown and have released their precious pollen. All that is left is a white, powdery residue on the cone's spiraling scales. The pollen floats on the wind. fertile dust that delicately drifts towards her, the female yellowwood. It settles on the giant's newly developed cones, pollinating them. These smooth, spherical cones will take about a year to develop into fleshy fruit, each holding a precious woody seed. Perhaps one, centuries from now, will grow to the size of this titan. Seconds or minutes, even hours, are inconsequential to the queen. For this ancient giant, seasons come and go in the blink of an eye. Even before European explorers discovered southern Africa, this mighty Outeniqua Yellowwood sheltered life in the safety of her branches. But she is a rare survivor. Logging is decimating her species. Fewer than 10% of old giant yellowwoods remain. And as her rarity rises, so too does her price, making her timber an ever more sought-after bounty. This giant is one of a handful of yellowwood trees, more than 500 years old, still standing. She's now protected in South Africa, but the future of her saplings still hangs in the balance.